again.
I'm going to get right into it. Welcome to Lost and Found and Rewound, a podcast where I use motherly love to bait two brothers who are aging like vampires into a pizza party. I'm Chris Lost.
I'm Found Jim.
And I'm Count Rick Rewound. Barely got the word rewound out.
You got count in there. Count and rewound. There's a nice alliteration to that.
I was filling out a form for commencement, graduation. For some reason on this form this year, it required me to put in a title. Usually it's optional, but this one forced it. I almost went for MX, mix, right? Mr., Ms., the non-gendered title.
I haven't heard of that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. It also had an other selection, so I put in Cap'n. CAP''N. And so I'm hoping somehow in the program.
As in the cereal sailor?
Yes.
Cap'n Crunch?
Yeah. It would make my day, year, life if in the program for commencement I'm listed as Cap'n Rick Rewound.
Well, that's stolen valor for one.
Yeah.
But is it Cap'n Crunch? Or,
yeah.
So Cap'n Gown?
Oh, that's funny. It's a pun. Yeah. As funny as puns can be.
Puns are funny.
Yeah, Chris. Interesting.
We have an I Apologize segment about our last movie. Rick, do you want to start the apology?
I cannot even remember.
Oh, do we not have to go through all this? Because you said we absolutely had to cover this.
I think we just didn't make was this the Gabriel Byrne? Like we didn't make a connection between the fact that we watched Hereditary, Gabriel Byrne is in that. Gabriel Byrne is in playing a similar character, right? Mm-hmm. I'm realizing that Gabriel Byrne's just all about being kind of a smoldering...
A hot Latino? He was a hot Latino in Hereditary?
Oh, that's right. He's Spanish in... Is he Italian or Spanish in Siesta?
Spanish.
I
think it's Spain. Yeah.
Siesta is a Spanish word.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Yeah. Who knows with that movie? Martin Sheen was a Texan.
That's true. What are you going to do there?
That's what we're going to talk about, too. The apology. Oh, yeah. So just not tying all the threads together from, what was it, the 5th season when we talked about Hereditary? And
no, that was the first season.
What? That long ago?
We've only had one season.
Okay.
No, we're going to apologize for not getting the movie right.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I watched the interview from a few years ago from the UCLA archive on YouTube. It was the interview with
Jodie Foster, Mary Lambert,
director,
Ellen Barkin,
star.
I'd watched it before we watched the movie and completely forgot. I thought I hadn't watched the entire interview, but I did because I watched it again after we watched this, and it turns out we were all completely wrong. It was like you had watched it too. I think we'd all maybe watched the interview.
I had not watched the interview before.
I remember they said she was dead.
Yeah.
But then what I don't remember is how she died.
So Mary Lambert says she dies or whatever. Yeah, I remembered that Ellen Barkin was shocked by something that the director said, and I thought it was that she was dead or she had died in the movie, which isn't what happened. The director said she died in the stunt, and basically the whole movie is... It's not even her life flashing before her eyes. It's like it's a completely imaginary thing that never happened almost. Like the second trip to Spain isn't real at all. And then Ellen Barkin was like, what? She didn't believe that.
She didn't get... Ellen Barkin thought she got stabbed by Isabella Rossellini, which is cool.
Which is what we all thought.
And the director said, no, she died in the jump. So then if that's true... Life flashing before the eyes, it's a unusual case of someone's life flashing before their eyes, leading up, but then it continues on into the future, or a speculated future fantasy of what would happen after. The problem I have is that this is not true. Mary Lambert, the director, is wrong.
Interspersed in all of these cuts where we're trying to follow these various timelines, they do show her falling in the sky. Right. They do show, and I wanted to go back and rewatch the movie to understand.
Let's do it right now.
That was,
I've got
it here.
Yeah.
I think what they're saying is either she's having these flash forwards as she's falling and thinking about things, or they're just saying as she's dying. But there's a film term for this. It's called the ending offers a variant on the by now cliched death dream ending, first used in the famous short film An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Also used in Carnival of Souls, shot in Lawrence, Kansas. Also used in Jacob's Ladder. There's a bunch of examples here of films that did. And then The Sixth Sense, they list as an example, but I'm not sure if... Sixth Sense.
And then the incident at Owl Creek Bridge, right? That's an Ambrose Bierce story, though, right? That's the short... It's based on a short story, isn't it? I thought that's the origins of it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh. I feel like I saw that in grade school. Like they showed us that film in school, which I don't understand why. I saw it as a child. Yet another film that scarred me for life, including the movie we're going to watch tonight.
These are called death dream endings.
Yeah.
And they're films that arrive at the twist revelation where a series of strange and anomalous events are explained by the protagonist's discovery that they have been dead all along or are in the process of dying without realizing it. These are almost always conceptual reversal twist stories where the protagonist awakens to this discovery at the ending. And then they talk about the origins of it from that Owl Creek movie. I wanted to give credit to the website where I read this, MORIA, so MoriahReviews.com, an excellent movie review website.
So yeah, An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge is Ambrose Bierce's short story. One of the earliest examples of stream of consciousness narrative mode. So yeah, it's all sort of happening in the guy's head. Also, the Johnny Cash song where he's being hanged. It's a Shel Silverstein song. What is that song?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's kind of narrating.
Right.
So I should know this. The name of this Johnny Cash song.
Forgot about that.
It's one of the classic Shel Silversteins, I think, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the director's wrong. So it makes absolutely no sense that she dies in the jump. It makes sense that she dies being stabbed by Isabella Rossellini. The film is better if that's the viewpoint. If the viewpoint is that she dies in the stunt jump, then it's an even worse film.
Yeah, because what makes it even more confusing is because it's doubled up the weird limbo, like, the whole thing with Jodie Foster. It's like a whole limbo. Those characters, you're never meant to believe they exist. He says, I'm your guardian angel.
Right.
And Jodie Foster shows when she cuts her hair and stuff, and Jodie Foster. It's like I always took it like that stuff is a completely separate. That is definitely implied in the movie. I think is never happens for real. That's like kind of her death limbo because she goes back to the scene of her own murder. Or she goes, she sees that's that other timeline. And so now we find out that not only is that not real, which is clear in the movie, but the second trip to Spain is also completely imaginary too. So yeah, it's a double confusion.
The only thing that I couldn't figure out was how quickly she got to Spain. I mean, that was an issue that they could have solved because I like the idea of she's supposed to do the stupid stunt, which like if you think about it, you jump out of a plane without a parachute into a burning net. I mean, how easy would that be? How hard would that be? And then over a volcano, it was just a really weird stunt.
Chris, I think just because you're like a business guy who travels a lot by plane, that concern about how did she get to Spain so quickly, that to me is kind of like George Lucas, making movies about people having committee meetings, those second 3 Star Wars films that are basically just managing all the politics of Lucasfilm, right? It's the same thing, Chris. It's like, how did she get to Spain? Like, did she use frequent flyer miles? What was the situation back then? She must be traveling a lot. Did she take the Concorde? Was the Concorde still going then? Man, I wish the Concorde was still going so I could go to Europe much faster than the flights I have to take on my big business trips.
Guys, I hate to interrupt you, but our delicious Litos pizza has arrived.
Kansas City. Food-wise, once only known as a barbecue town. But thanks to the Taco the Town podcast, everything has changed. Kansas City has rightfully taken its place as a taco paradise smack dab in the middle of the USA. And all of these tacos belong to us on the Taco the Town podcast. My name is W. David Keith, certified tacoholic, and I live a very taco-centric lifestyle. On the Taco the Town podcast, we're tasting every taco in the town. We shine a light on all of the taco-rific tacos Kansas City has to offer, unearthing great taco memories, checking the latest stories in taco news, and interviewing actors, reporters, chefs, politicians, and musicians about their love for tacos. If you love tacos like I do, you're gonna love Taco the Town. Available wherever you get your taco podcasts. A proud member of the Lotus Pod Podcasting Network.
What is pink? We're just talking about my color blindness. Sorry for the break, everybody. Our pizza ride and Lito's is so delicious we had to jump on it.
I have yet to see that check.
What check?
The check, the sponsorship.
I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Somebody's handling those checks.
Like a wire transfer?
If you're worried about are the checks being processed, they are. Don't worry about it.
I am worried that they are being processed.
Oh.
What's the end result of that processing? It's not showing up in my account. I'll tell you that right now.
I hosted you all for a wonderful trip through the Midwest. That takes money.
Takes money.
That takes funding. You know?
It's sort of like having your campaign fund pay for your legal fees.
Right. Yeah. People do that. Presidents do that. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah.
We had so much to go over with Siesta. Before I had figured out this term, the death dream cliche, I tried to figure out Siesta on my own. Kind of went back down the Zalman Kingiverse spiral and then learned that the one last interesting fact is Patricia Louisiana, who I think was Zalman King's wife, wrote Siesta and 9.5 Weeks, Wild Orchid, and a lot of Red Shoe Diaries and stuff. So like that sort of dream of like a woman trapped or who has settled for a situation, then dreams or escapes to a more romantic situation. That's a common theme in all of Zalman King's work.
Or his wife's work.
His wife's work, but I guess the things that he produces based on his wife's
So what does that say about their
stories.
relationship?
It's another George Lucas. I mean, if George would have let Martha have more say in the film, there probably would have been a sex scene in Star Wars.
And having seen Dune 2 just recently.
Doing it again.
That's right.
Is that what it is? Dune 2, doing it again?
Might as well be. Just noticing the overlap there and the fact that Frank Herbert was a little ticked off about Star Wars.
Do they rip off Star Wars in Dune 2?
It's a loop. It's like an Ouroboros. There's like references. It's references inside of references, right? And so I think there are references to David Lynch's Dune. There are references to Apocalypse Now. There are references to Lawrence of Arabia. There are references to Star Wars. Star Wars references Dune or rips off Dune or uses Dune, kind of cobbles together Kurosawa and Dune, samurai movies and Dune.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this whole mess. It is kind of like a mythological melting pot.
Dune 2.
Yeah.
Electric Dunaroo. I'm trying to think of a good Dune 2 title. Well, they buried the sandworm in Star Wars, right? The Sarlacc pit.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about the Sarlacc pit.
And then there are worms in The Mandalorian or the Boba Fett movie, one of those, or TV show, one of those.
Can't keep them straight.
So quickly, we should go through what we've been watching, and then let's...
Oh, my God. Uh-oh. I haven't prepped. I totally did not prep.
Oh, well, then
for
we'll
this
just
episode.
skip it.
No. We don't need to skip it. I can look at my... Are you guys aren't on Letterboxd?
I was thinking we should probably do something letterboxed for this podcast.
I do remember talking a lot last time about the We Are the World documentary, right? And so looking at my list, all I see here after that is Siesta, Joan Baez documentary, and then Dune Part 2. So apparently in the past month, I've only watched the movie we watched for the last episode, and then this Joan Baez documentary, and then Dune the other day.
You're like turning into me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think I watched TV.
I'm going to have to start watching movies.
What did you consume? What media did you consume, Jim?
I don't know if I mentioned this years ago, from one of the first 3 or 4 seasons we did. I've gone through all the Richard Osman's House of Games, which is a game show British game show. It's all on YouTube, which isn't official. I don't think it's somebody just putting them up, and they haven't been taken down, so they don't care. It's like a game show with they're British celebrities.
So yeah, in quotes.
Yeah,
Well,
Celebrity is in quotes.
That's like if you go to a small town and like everybody knows like Jim, the football
Right.
player, or something. Mike the cop.
There's always at least one or two comedians on there, and they usually win, actually. But it's just a game show where they just play games, and they're like all different categories, and some of them are actually kind of difficult. Or usually these celebrity things are very soft, like they have Celebrity Jeopardy or something. They tone it down. But
So Yahtzee? Do they play Yahtzee?
no,
No.
they're like word games and visual things and finding things on maps and just
Bananagrams?
no,
They don't play bananagrams?
I don't think so.
That's a word game.
There's like drawing. There are like parlor games. Yeah, there's like drawing like a stick figure, and you have 30 seconds to draw.
Hangman?
No, it looks like Hangman, but you get a character. Somebody a usually a historical person, and you have to draw. But some of the games are really inventive and fun. It's not dumb.
So there's not always celebrities. They have
Oh, no, yeah, it
smart
is.
people on at times.
No, it's all just dumb celebrities.
Oh, okay.
I hope this doesn't upset you, Jim, but there was like a little family joke that we made about Uncle Jim, which was Uncle Jim thinks he lives in England. Uncle Jim believes he lives in London. Just don't tell him that he's not in England.
When was the last time you were in the UK, Jim?
Probably 1999, something like that.
So you do know that you live in the
Yeah.
Midwest.
Yes.
He doesn't have to like it.
It's like Siesta.
Totally, it was a siesta riff.
There's no plane trip. Yeah, I don't remember a plane trip coming back to America. So that was the other thing about Siesta I wanted to bring up. Yeah, it was like the whole there's no return trip to America. So how could she be doing the jump? That's sort of the clue, I guess, because
Prove that she died jumping out of the plane, as
Right.
opposed to
Right.
proving the reality, which is that she died when Isabella Rossellini stabbed her.
because she never went back from Spain. She never flew back to do the stunt.
Right, and then they do show her skydiving. So how did that happen?
Yeah.
I actually think they could. I do like the way we've edited the film. I think it should have been, and I think Ellen Barkin agrees. I'm going to speak for Ellen Barkin. They could have saved some time. They could have cut the skydiving interludes out of the film and had a pretty tight single twist movie.
So basically, it was like, we got all this footage of Ellen Barkin jumping out of an airplane. We got to use it. Can't waste that footage. And then you retcon it to say, oh, no, she died jumping out.
It was probably expensive to
Yeah.
get those shots.
Yeah.
So if it costs money,
Instead of watching movies, and I think I must have watched some movies since then, but I don't remember. I have almost finished the Francis Ford Coppola Path to Paradise biography. So I have to return it to the library. It's been auto-renewing, but at some point, I guess after 3 months, I don't know how many months it is, they aren't letting me auto-renew it, but luckily I've gotten to the last few pages. I have been experiencing movies
no, you haven't. That's reading a book.
and movie making. I've been doing a lot of sort of
Oh, man.
movie-focused
He's lost it.
thinking and reading, but I haven't actually been watching movies.
I do have something to share what I watched, but I should share what I listened to because I'm too lazy now to read books in their entirety. So I do books on tape now.
You get the big kind of portfolio of like 50 cassettes. You open it up and you pop one cassette at a time into your...
Right, just like How to Win Friends and Influence People came in that format as well.
Yeah.
No, Hits, Flops, and Other Illusions by Ed Zwick
Oh, wow. Oh, I just heard an interview with him talking about that. Yeah.
on WTF.
I heard him on Fresh Air, I believe.
Oh, well. Oh,
Sorry,
of course you did.
Chris.
In your e-car. Probably having a latte or some sort of coffee drink.
Honestly, usually I'm cleaning my house
Oh, okay.
with headphones on.
How much room was in your coffee drink? That's a coffee drink term that I don't know.
How much room?
Right? Room? Is that
I don't
not a
know.
coffee drink term?
I don't know. What does that mean?
I don't drink coffee.
R-H-E-U-M, like rheumatic, room.
I thought that's what people said. Leave some room? Oh, no, I got it all wrong.
Oh.
For adding stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, leave some room. Okay, I understand.
But I watched the Curse. It's a TV show, 10-episode TV show with Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie and
A woman
Emma
that you can't remember.
Stone, not Watson.
There you go.
Not Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah.
Stone.
Good
I had to
job.
go through the Emmas. It's amazing. I thought initially it was a veiled tribute to The Shining because they had voyeuristic camera shots, a creepy soundtrack, supernatural children, including a pair of sisters, and an underlying criticism of American imperialism and the oppression of indigenous people. Oh, and a married couple in a tenuous state. But then I watched the last episode. So I was like, okay, this is going to...
Now, you're not spoiling this. You're not going to spoil it, are you?
No, I'm just going to say, then it went off the rails. It was brilliant. It was definitely worth the watch, but I was like, it was kind of like Siesta in the way that I don't understand what happened. Actually, all I'll say is, not to spoil anything,
but
it's a lot like Siesta. There's a scene in it that is a lot like Siesta.
I haven't watched that because it's on like Showtime or something, right?
It's on Paramount
Plus, even worse.
So I don't subscribe to Paramount Plus either, but my brother-in-law came in town and accidentally left his Apple TV Plus logged in, which has a direct tie to his Paramount Plus.
Nice.
So he was like, oh, you can just watch it on my Apple TV Plus account. And I was like, yes.
All right.
So that's what I watched. I would recommend it. It's great. And then I watched Old Boy, which, have you seen that, Rick?
Are there 2 Old Boys?
There are.
They remade it, right?
I would never watch the remake of Old Boy. I watched the original.
So there's a hammer. Am I remembering it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I just have just a very primitive ape man memory, dinosaur brain memory of not liking it and a hammer.
He fights like 100 guys with a hammer.
Yeah, I don't think I think it was too much for me, for sensitive Rick.
Yeah, it gets really intense.
I may not have watched all of it.
He cuts his own tongue off with a scissors.
Yeah, okay.
Too.
See now. I don't need to hear that.
I can see you not wanting to see that, but it was a pivotal moment in the film.
It's necessary. It was necessary.
It was necessary. I wanted to do a segment called "And the Horse They Rode In On," and this is a segment where we throw shade to other podcasts. As you'll remember, when I threw shade at the Video Archives podcast for ripping off our formula, it was the Gayla Avery, Quentin Tarantino, Roger Avery podcast. Well, guess what? They didn't come back. I'm thinking we had a major influence.
Great.
On them not coming back. So today I want to throw shade at this podcast called Two Geeks and a GIT, standing for Geeks in Training. So you've got 3 old liberal nerds talking about movies. So what fun could that be? And then they're college professors on top of that. So who wants to listen to college professors in a podcast? And then they did an episode on Logan's Run. These guys seem to be... Now, but then I looked and they started in 2016, which, according to Rick and Jim, that's about right. We probably started before that if we've done 6 seasons.
At least. I remember now, since we're talking about TV shows, I did watch that show Bodies, and that did involve someone biting their tongue off. The show takes place in 4 different years in London, like 4 different centuries, or not 4 different centuries. It's like in 1890, 1941, 2023, and 2053, and there's a dead body that shows up in the same location across all these different years.
Ooh.
And then it's about the detectives all trying to figure out what's going on.
Was it good?
I thought it was good. It got so-so reviews, but I liked it, except for the part where somebody bit their tongue off.
I thought somebody should do a letterbox of everything we ever mention on this show. If we had listeners, which has evidenced by the lack of emails, we don't.
Is that something that AI could help? That IA could help?
IA could.
Intelligence artificials?
Let me check. Clippy, could you put all the movies we mentioned on a TV show? No, he just gave me a template for a resume. Rick, it's your job to tell us what the next film will be.
Since when? I thought Jim always does that.
No, you do that.
Me? I always talk about what film?
You have to announce the film so we can end this fast forward episode and get on to the next episode.
Okay. The film we are
going to watch
is To Kill a Clown, a 1972, I believe, production starring Alan Alda, Blythe Danner, a.k.a.
Gwyneth Paltrow's mom.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow's mom.
Goop, mom of Goop.
Grandma Goop.
Grandma Goop.
And
that's what she's known for.
And Heath Lambert's, I believe. And so I decided after the Siesta, where we watched Siesta actually on video cassette, since apparently that's the only way you can watch Siesta, that we should go back to the core conceit of this podcast, which is that films we saw on VHS. And so I went into my attic and tried to find all the films I had on VHS, and one of these was To Kill a Clown. And so this was a film I saw when I was a kid on television, heavily edited, I believe, but terrified me. In the internet era, I bought a copy on VHS from eBay. It's the story of a hippie couple whose marriage is on the rocks, and they rent a beach house from a Doberman Pinscher-wielding Vietnam vet, and madness ensues. You can actually get this free as of the recording of this, which who knows when it's going to come out based on Chris's timeline. I mean, it could be years from now.
Well, now I can start editing, and we've got 3 in the can.
All right. It's just sometimes I get confused about what season it is and what order things are.
I know
and
you
when
get
it's gonna
confused. You don't have to tell people. Everybody knows you get confused.
Everybody knows. It's up on the Internet Archives this week.
What is that? What's the Internet Archives?
Well, in theory, it's public domain videos,
Music.
all sorts of stuff.
InternetArchives.com?
.org, I believe. It's also the home of the Prelinger Archives, so that's a sort of famous archive. This guy collected industrial films. So you were talking about Carnival of Souls, right? And that was made by the production company. A lot of those people were involved in that. What was the industrial film company in Kansas?
Oh, I don't know.
The guy who directed it made industrial films for most of his life. Like if you get the Criterion version of, if you get it on disc, I guess, of Carnival of Souls, they have a bunch of the industrial films that he made.
Oh, I have it. I have the Criterion version.
Isn't like how not to get killed running a bulldozer? You know that industrial film. You remember that stuff?
I do remember that stuff.
Yeah. So there's a company in the Kansas City area that made tons of industrial films. Anyways, the Prelinger Archive, he collected industrial films, archived them because they were considered garbage, 40 years ago. Nobody cared about them, right? He built up this archive and then digitized it and donated it to the Internet Archive, I believe. So there's a lot of industrial films up there out of copyright. Like whenever I make an 80s style music video with found footage or industrial films, you just...
Like This Ain't No Picnic?
Yeah, like This Ain't No Picnic, right. Although This Ain't No Picnic is using film of Ronald Reagan, right, in a film that was under copyright.
It dropping bombs.
Yeah.
On Minutemen.
On the Minutemen, yeah.
All right, well, enjoy that. Enjoy watching that film. We're going to take a pause. We're going to get some more delicious Lido's Pizza, as you all should, before you watch this film, To Kill a Clown. And then we'll come back and review or talk about the film. I don't know if we review it or... Oh, we do, kind of. Lost and Found and Rewound is fully funded by Lost and Found and Rewound Foundation funds. Lost and Found and Rewound does not use crowdfunding because our listeners have better things to do with their funding. There's no need to post reviews of Lost and Found and Rewound because our listeners have more valuable things to do with their time. In all sincerity, thank you for listening to the show. We truly appreciate it.
Lotus Pod.